Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of NXT for September the 1st, 2020. This was a Super Tuesday edition of NXT, and next week there will be another Super Tuesday edition. I will be live streaming next Tuesday night as well. This week's show was up against Impact Wrestling, and there was a major title change over on Impact Wrestling. Check out NoDQ.com for more on that. I will also talk about that at the end of this video. Was there a title change on NXT though? Because that was hyped up, that was advertised, an Iron Man match to crown a new NXT World Champion. A 4-way, 60-minute Iron Man match. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. Let's get started. We had a recap of last week's NXT, and then we kicked off with our first match, which was Legado del Fantasma, the trio, up against another trio, Breezango and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Hamp Cano with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. He says, I timed the Iron Man match 58 minutes and 26 seconds. Interesting. I wonder if WWE screwed around with the timing of that match. But again, we'll talk about that later. Remember, hashtag stick to the topic. But thank you, Hamp, for that super chat. Let's talk about the six-man match. A lot of fun. This was a nice, old school weapons match with trash can lids, tables, ladders, all sorts of stuff. You had lots of crazy moments in this match. You had Fandango doing the old Terry Funk airplane spin. I'm sure Ken will appreciate the Terry Funk reference. He's our resident old school wrestling fan. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, NXT sure has great endings. Huh. I wonder if he's being sarcastic with that one. And Hero Villain 5 says, everybody just wants to talk about the last match. I know. We'll get to it. We even had a fire extinguisher in this match. Tyler Breeze busted it out and used it on all three members of Legado del Fantasma. And then after the commercial break, we had the Phantasma trio make a comeback. They did a triple trash compactor. All three of them drop kicking one of the guys who had the trash can over his head. And then Fandango got knocked off the apron, fell through a table. And then we had Imperium show up trying to get revenge on Breezango. It was basically 5-on-3. And then you had Fandango and Swerve climb up to the top of this forklift. And it looked like Tyler Breeze was done for. And then all of a sudden, Fandango and Swerve did stereo jumps off the top of the forklift, cleaning everybody out, wiping them out. And then Scott pinned the Cruiserweight champion Escobar. I'm a little surprised that Escobar got pinned here, especially when you had 5 guys against 3. The heels outnumbered the babyfaces, and the babyfaces won, which is fine, I guess, but to pin the Cruiserweight champ when it was 5-on-3, I'm not sure I would have booked that as a finish. I think it would have been better to have one of the other 2 Phantasma guys get pinned. But it was a really fun match. Nice way to kick off the show. We had a video package with Tegan Knox talking about bonding with Candice LeRae. However, once Candice got into this new groove with Johnny Gargano, she's gone into a much darker place. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, seriously, why do champions lose non-title matches? That seems to be the only way WWE knows how to book these championship feuds and book number 1 contenders. Now, there are other ways, but WWE just likes to do it this way. I'm okay with it happening every once in a while. Like, you can do that. You can have somebody beat the champion to become a contender. But the problem is that the champions lose to potential contenders all the time in non-title matches, to the point where they just lose credibility as a champion. The champion should be the best and should almost never lose. But hey, I'm from a different era. Back in my day, the champions rarely lost. Every once in a while, you would have a scenario where the champion got pinned and then the person that pinned the champ would get an opportunity. Now it's pretty much every week it happens. And thanks, Muhammad. He likes the El Generico shirt. I appreciate it. We had Candice LeRae in a one-on-one match against Casey Catanzaro, who had Kaden Carter out there with her. Was not enough. Even Kaden out there for moral support could not get the job done. Candice won relatively quickly with the stomp, the curb stomp that she does, different from Seth Rollins' stomp, more like the Super Dragon curb stomp. And then after the match, Candice cut a promo, said that she wants to talk things out with Tegan Nox, and even invited Tegan to come to her house, and dinner is on the house. It is complimentary. Dinner is on Candice. We'll see how that goes. And I agree with Psycho Jet Black. Candice is awesome. I like her act. Although Mr. Anderson says Candice LeRae doesn't scream heel to me. I think she's a better babyface, but she's just really starting to come into her own as a heel. We'll see what they do in the house segment if we really see Candice go dark. We had a Rhea Ripley promo, and she talked about wanting a piece of Mercedes Martinez, not just a regular match, but she wants a steel cage match. And later on, we had a response from Mercedes, and she accepted the challenge. And that will take place on next week's Super Tuesday edition. Super Tuesday Part 2 of NXT. We had Bronson Reed versus Tim Thatcher. Back and forth match here between these two, but Bronson was on the verge of picking up a victory. He did a dive to the outside, hurt his arm, and then Austin Theory showed up when the referee wasn't looking. The referee was focused on Tim, and you had Theory attack him, threw him back in the ring, and then it was all elementary from there. Tim put on the arm bar. Reed tried to break out of it, but the pain was just too much, and he tapped out, giving Mr. Tim Thatcher the win. Then we had our Iron Man main event. And just as a reminder, once I'm done with NXT, I'll talk about Impact Wrestling and maybe a few other topics, maybe a little bit more about Mauro Ranallo. Stay tuned for that. Because this was pretty much the rest of the show. This one match, the Iron Man match. Ciampa had a hot start, going after everybody, but then it slowed down a bit for a while. It was basically one of those matches where two guys were in the ring for a while and they would just switch places. The other two guys would die on the outside or whatever, and then it would be the two guys and they would just change it up with the two guys. But it would basically be two people in the ring for a while. And then eventually they did this triple Tower of Doom spot, and Gargano was the one not involved. He came in the ring. He attempted to pin the guys that were taken out by that Tower of Doom, but was unsuccessful. Notice that every time somebody goes for a pin in a multi-man match and that guy kicks out, then that person who made the pin goes to pin the other guy. It never works. Never. Tell me a match where there were three or more people and guy A went to pin guy B kicked out, guy A went to go pin guy C, and he pinned guy C. It has never worked, ever, in the history of wrestling. I am fairly certain of this, that it has never happened where guy A pinned guy C, the second guy he attempted to pin. Marcus Meatcalf with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I missed the show. How was the commentary? It was fine. I like Wade Barrett. I'm not a big fan of Vic Joseph, and Beth Phoenix doesn't really add much to me, especially when she's not even there at Full Sail University. So I feel like there's not quite the dynamic when one of the participants isn't even there in the building. I miss Mauro Ranallo. It definitely sucks that he's gone, but I hope he's happy. I hope he's able to stay positive and be able to handle his mental health and handle his family, take care of his family. But yeah, it's a big void with Mauro Ranallo not being part of commentary. Now back to the Iron Man match. Gargano kicked out of the 1916. This was the first near fall of the match. This was about, I want to say, 18 minutes into the match. And we had a little tease of Gargano and Ciampa rekindling their storyline feud. But then they both got thrown out of the ring by Balor and Cole. Balor and Cole did the too sweet, but then Balor said, hey, there's no teaming in this match. It's every man for himself. He didn't say it, but he showed it by attacking Cole. He took out everybody, and then he hit the coup de grace on Cole to score the first fall in the match. Finn Balor, 1 point. We continued here, and then Gargano hit the fairy tale ending to Balor. However, we had Gargano steal the fall. It was Ciampa hitting the fairy tale ending to Balor, and Gargano stole the pinfall, giving Gargano a point. Then we had Adam Cole hitting the Panama Sunrise to Gargano to score a fall. And by the way, it was just you pin somebody, you get a point, that's it. WWE did not try to complicate things by having you lose a point if you get pinned or you submit. So it's just you pin somebody, you get a point. And if you get pinned, doesn't affect your score in the match. So now everybody but Ciampa had a fall. However, Ciampa was able to hit a double DDT to both Gargano and Cole, and then hit the fairy tale ending to pin Cole, making it one fall for everybody. And then we had a lengthy period where there were no falls, maybe about 20 minutes or so. And then once we got down to the 5-minute mark, that's when things really picked up, the pacing of the match. Gargano put the Gargano escape on Cole, but then Ciampa pulled them both out. Ciampa did the thing that he did to Jake Atlas on last week's NXT, where he drove Gargano's throat into the bottom of the ring and then brought him back in the ring, attempted to pin him, but then Cole stopped the pin. Balor stopped the pin as well when he tried to go for another pin. And then Gargano with an inside cradle almost pinned Ciampa. Ciampa's knee was hurting him. We were down to the final 90 seconds. And Gargano and Ciampa were on the top. Ciampa drove Gargano all the way down, but then Finn Balor came out of nowhere with the coup de grace and pinned Ciampa with about 20 seconds left in the match. And then out of nowhere, Adam Cole came in with the last shot. Just when it looked like we were going to have a new champ, Adam Cole came in. He slowly rolled over Balor, and then made the pin with literally 1 second to go. I mean, it was less than 3 seconds when the referee started counting, and they timed it. Maybe they had to do a second take, who knows? But they got it. They got it just in the nick of time, where the ref counted 3 right before the time ran out. So therefore, it was a tie. 1 apiece, with Cole and Balor being the co-winners of this match. Afterwards, William Regal came out. There was a lot of controversy over who the champ was, and Regal said that next week there will be a sudden death match between Balor and Cole. One fall, winner of that fall is the new NXT World Champion. It was a good match. I wasn't really that invested in it because I knew the result. It was going to be a tie. There was a spoiler that came out earlier in the day, and I think that my enjoyment of the match would have been better if I did not know the spoiler. I could see people being upset with this finish. It definitely felt like a cheap ratings ploy. I'm not a big fan of 60-minute matches that end in a draw because people are investing their time and then you have no decisive outcome at the end. It's like watching a movie and then the movie leaves you on a cliffhanger. I mean, if it's a TV show and it's 45 minutes, that's one thing. But imagine watching a 2-hour movie that just ends with a cliffhanger and has no real ending. I guess they decided to hold it off one more week, but the idea was that this Iron Man match would crown a new champion. I liked NXT. It was a good show overall, but I do not think that Iron Man match was a classic. And again, maybe knowing the spoiler hurt my viewing of it, but I'm going to give the show a solid B. Good episode of NXT, but not the classic that I was hoping it would be. Jeremy Dorset with a B-, Mike B with a B+, Mr. Anderson with a C, Muhammad with a B, Gary gives it a C, and Kevin says it's like reading a book with no final chapter, and Bruce says D, ripoff. Some varied opinions in here. Hero Villain 5 gives it a C+, and Interstate Kyle, shout out to Kyle, gives it a solid B. And Kev gives it a B. By the way, make sure you guys go to nodq.com/merch. There are now No DQ face masks available over at nodq.com/merch. COVID-19, it's not ending anytime soon. You might as well keep yourself safe, and you can promote nodq.com at the same time. Pick up a mask over at nodq.com/merch. And also there are fanny packs available. If you want to be cool like an 80s wrestler, you can have your fanny pack. The game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, WWE is smart for putting the replay of NXT Wednesday on Sci-Fi next 2 weeks to stun AEW growth. This is what Vince did in the 80s against Crockett and Turner. I doubt that many people will tune in to NXT on Sci-Fi. I mean, I guess it's a good idea to try and get some extra viewers, but I doubt it's going to make that much of a difference. I really don't think it's going to impact AEW. But speaking of impact, like how I did that there, we have a new Impact World Champion, Eric Young. Eric Young won the Impact title, defeating Eddie Edwards. I did not see the whole match. I only saw a clip of it, but I'm a little surprised it happened this quickly. I guess you got to get that title on the former WWE star, which I think is probably the right move. And you know what? To be fair, Eric Young isn't going to be known as a WWE guy. He was an Impact guy for many, many years. I'm fine with him being the champ. Maybe it's going to be Eric Young versus EC3, and then people will say, oh, it's two former WWE guys. But hello, they were both in Impact for many years, and both of them had their greatest success in Impact, not WWE. But yeah, I could see EC3 and Eric Young eventually having a world title match, maybe Bound for Glory. Hap Kano with a $5 super chat says, do you think Ciampa, Gargano, and Cole will go far on the main roster? I cannot help but notice how small they are compared to the current stars. Honestly, no. Maybe Ciampa, but Gargano, he's a great wrestler. But yeah, I think he would be at that lower to mid card level at best. I do not see him getting the Daniel Bryan push where he's the small guy that gets the world title. I think it's very unlikely. Ciampa, he's got a better look, but he's made it clear he does not want to go to the main roster. And as far as Cole goes, if Cole was with Undisputed Era, maybe he would get a big push. I would love to see UE get a push as a group on the main roster. Cole, by himself, I think he would do okay, but again, he might struggle because he lacks that size. A few guys pulled it off, you know. Daniel Bryan did, CM Punk did. Rollins isn't the biggest guy in the world, and he's done well. AJ. So I could see all three of them having mid-card success. I mean, I would think that they would go further than Ricochet, but probably not a lot further. And Mr. Anderson brings up Rey Mysterio. Mysterio's another one, but not everybody can be Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio was an exception to the rule. There were a few guys that were able to break the tradition and become stars despite not fitting that big man mold. But if you have a roster full of these smaller guys, they're going to end up not being special anymore. See, Rey Mysterio was something special because he was the only guy like that. But when you have half a dozen smaller guys, you know, they're all not going to get that big main event level push, in my opinion. That's all I got for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your viewership and support. Stay tuned for the AEW Dynamite recap. AEW back on Wednesday night. And then the No DQ review. We'll be talking about all the big news articles and topics of the past week. And then Smackdown, AEW All Out Saturday night. I'll be recapping the pay-per-view. Lots of content. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. And I will see you all next time.